Yo, what up? This is Mike Brown,
This is Alpha.
and this is The Art of Letting Go.
Letting go. Letting go.
I just wanted to welcome y'all to The Art of Letting Go. We have a special guest in the building. I say special because I just met you today, and I learned so much about you and just how much we are connected. I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hello. This is Keyshawn Rains, also known as Kei Rai. And I am super blessed to be here. And I'm super grateful that the two of you invited me to be a part of this project. So thank you for having me.
I'm definitely glad that you
Thank
came.
you.
We had a nice little walk and talk before we getting started. So, Mike, we gonna do it how we always do. Mike, I'm gonna go ahead and let you lead us off with what we're talking about today, and we go jump into it.
So today, I want to talk about healing because I know you are a healer, and you were telling me about how we can heal ourselves, and it really made me look at my journey and just my journey of healing, and a lot of the healing that I did come from me putting in the work to do it. So, yeah, I really wanted to start there and I guess explain to everyone what we were talking about earlier about healing and stuff.
I like how you said that at a point you recognized that a lot of the healing that you needed to do was going to come from within.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful statement because a lot of times when we think about healing, we think about something outside of ourselves, a place that we have to go, somebody that we have to hire, some degree that we have to get, some whatever, and medication we have to take or whatever, it is that we need to be healed from. And we've been conditioned to believe that we have to reach outside of ourselves to get that, and that's just not true.
Right. I think that's dope. I mean, what actually got you to the point where you felt or you knew that it didn't take anybody else telling you how to heal yourself or just acknowledging within yourself that I have the power to heal whatever it is. And that's even giving yourself the power to say, okay, like, I'm going to go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? What helped you kind of gather and get to that point in your life?
I think it was probably a series of unfortunate events, for lack of a better word. I think that there were different points in my life as an adult that I realized that, I was kind of like in a cycle.
Yeah.
Like I would reach a certain point and then it would just like crash and reach a certain point and crash as far as like success, progress, whatever. And I hit a wall, like you talked about earlier about like when you just, you're going, you just hit a wall and you crash. And looking around and going to like, okay, maybe I'll try this route. Everyone's like, oh, do the therapy thing. Okay, I did therapy, talk therapy, which is great. And I think that's amazing. And it's definitely a good place to start. Or, go see this doctor and they'll prescribe you this medication that'll make you think like the world is fucking amazing all the goddamn time. And then you can't sleep at all.
Right.
Unless you take something else. So try that route. And then a friend invited me to go to a yoga class. And this was after I left this company that I used to work for, that I made a lot of money for them. And it was a super high stress job. And I walked into the yoga class and I started to unload so much stuff.
Wow.
Through the practices, through the meditation, through the breathing exercises, through the poses of the asanas. And I was shedding tears and sweat and everything onto my mat. And I was having breakthroughs that I would never had in a talk therapy session.
That's dope.
So that's when I realized that everything I needed was, all that was on my mat was me.
Yeah.
Everything I was doing was just me. There was no equipment. It was just me. So.
And I think you figure it out through experience. And I say that because kind of like the Solange song, Cranes in the Sky. Like, you try all these things to see what works and doesn't work. And you kind of put together your own manual of like, the Mike Brown Healthy Handbook. Mm-hmm. What works for Mike? Right. Meditation, smoking weed, making music, whatever it is, So, yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying.
And I think that it's good, too, that you tried a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a lot of times people start with one thing and they feel like, well, shit, that didn't work, so I'm just going to let it all go. You know what I'm saying? It's just, this is who I am. Like, you hear that a lot. That this is just who I am. Like,
That's
I'm just
lazy.
like this, And I think it's really cool that you allowed yourself to go through those different processes to find what really, really works for you. And I love the fact that it worked so much for you that you began teaching yourself, right? So I wanted to hear a little bit about, your practice and just kind of how it all flows. Because like I just told you before, I just really started getting into yoga, and I really do enjoy it, and I can see the benefit of it as far as it being therapeutic. Like for me, music is therapy. But I see a lot of therapy in yoga. I can feel a lot of therapy, I should say, when I do, engage in yoga. So I want to hear a little bit about.
Okay. Yeah. My yoga journey, as some yogis call it, my yoga journey began. Excuse me, when I walked away from that job, and I walked into that studio, and I took those first couple of classes, and I had that fucking. I'm sorry.
No, you
good.
Okay.
I had this
This is a feel free. Shout out.
Okay.
Yoga Dude.
Yes.
Podcast.
James Woods. Okay. I had this like fucking awakening moment where I couldn't explain it. You know what I mean? It was a very intense experience. And so after like the third or fourth class, the instructor announced that she was going to be hosting a yoga teacher training. And I was like, oh, that would be kind of dope. I had to get some water. It was parched. That would be kind of dope to learn a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
And then this like other voice came up that was like, oh, no, you can't afford that shit. You just left your job. It's $3,500. It's 12 weeks. You don't have the time. You need to look for another job. That came up. And then something happened where I had a dream. My grandfather came to me in a dream and was basically telling me, like, stop wasting your time. Just do it. Like, everything will come together. And so I enrolled in the teacher training. I went through 12 weeks of training. And I'd say like midway through, I could just feel how necessary it was for me to teach this to other people.
Why do you and this is just with anything, like with yoga, but just with anything in life, why is it that you need a degree or some type of certificate or anything to be anything? You know what I mean? I say that because I feel like my practice is good enough with yoga that I could just teach some people yoga and putting the right intention into it. If I'm teaching yoga with love, you know what I mean? Like, people going to get love out of it.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying, I'm not really good at quotes, so I often paraphrase or just add shit. But there's a saying that says, when the teacher is ready, rephrase, boom, rewind. When the student is ready, the master will appear. Okay. And a lot of people think that means that when a person's ready to learn, they're going to go out and find the right teacher. When you go through a certification program, specifically for yoga, I can't necessarily speak for other stuff. I don't have a degree, whatever. But when I went through that program, most of it was work on myself.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like you need to do a certain level of healing work within yourself before you can really put yourself on a pedestal or on a table or come from a place of expertise and say, let me show you how this works.
Right.
Because like we were saying outside, most of what I learned was through experience.
Absolutely.
It wasn't from reading a book and taking a test. And it was like, oh no, I'm living this shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm having my own breakthroughs. I'm letting go of what no longer serves me. I'm recognizing what my form is really about. I'm learning how to use my mind and control my thoughts. I'm actually manifesting. Like, I had to experience those things. And those are the kinds of things that I think people can get going through like a training or a course about yoga in particular, is you get to recognize that your practice is your practice, but there might be deeper levels of your own practice that you haven't gotten into unless you have a guide.
Right.
That's cool.
That's real.
That's really cool. And I think that you kind of blow my mind with some of the stuff that you're saying. A lot. And I think that is.
I like to talk.
Hey, and this is what the space is for you to just talk. And I really want to just talk to you now. Like, I know that I don't want this to feel like it's an interview. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, I want this to kind of just, and Mike, we already talked about this. Like, this is just us in here talking. So if you got questions for us, please feel free to.
Oh yeah.
To ask.
Okay, I do have questions for you.
Uh-huh.
I want to ask you each. You can answer on, where did your yoga journey begin?
I'll start because my yoga journey just began. As most individuals who've listened to this before know, I work in the mental health field. And so I'm actually at work. They're bringing in like more expressive arts kind of things, and they brought in a yoga instructor, and she's kind of teaching us different things so that we can go ahead and teach individuals as well. And that's kind of where it started for me. Like I kind of went in and I was like, all right, like, you know, I went to one yoga. Actually, to be honest with you, that's when it started right now. It really started with James. James, I think I went to my first yoga class with James. And it was out here in Long Beach, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And
was that the time we went?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that Yogalution?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And UK was there, shout out. And I was exhausted. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to stop midway through. And I was like, yo,
this is much harder than I expected.
Yes, much harder than I expected. And but it was a really cool experience. And like I said before, the more I do it, the more I'm seeing the benefit of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure that there's plenty that I haven't untapped yet. And I expect it to continue to be like that no matter how long I do it.
Right.
Like, I feel like as I keep doing it, I'll learn more and more and more. And then there'll be so much more like, oh, shoot, I don't know how to do that, though. Or I don't know this about myself. Like, oh. And so I'm interested to continue to do it. Like, I think it's another release besides, you know, music for me. Like, I think it's really dope.
Yeah, well, I like how you said that, you know, the more you keep doing it, the more you keep doing it, essentially. And that's why it's called a practice.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I tell my students at the beginning of every single class, I'm like, you know, you cannot win the yoga class. There's no blue ribbon at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
The blue ribbon is the way you feel when you leave here. That blissful feeling, you know, where that's only something that you can create, you know, from within. So you kind of develop an affection for it. So that's why you just keep going and you keep going and keep going.
For me, yoga started with James. It was around the time I came out, and James told me about therapy, told me about yoga, and I remember I went to my first yoga class, and it was different because I had never done yoga before, and I went by myself. I went to like a beginner class, but I enjoyed it, and I remember Shavasana. Did I say that right?
That's everyone's favorite.
It was
Shavasana.
It was mine just because I drifted. And every time I do, I just drift and I drift away from myself and back to myself, and that shit feels crazy.
Hell yeah.
So,
so one, I want to ask, because I've noticed this with different yoga instructors. Will I develop the whisper that you're doing? You got going. I love the whisper. You got this whisper. Yes, oh my yes. And I want to know, is that like a thing that kind of happens when you kind of, because I mean it started off as a joke, but I kind of really want to know because I've noticed it because you like, yes, that was a great point. You know what I'm saying? It's like I like it. I think it's dope, but I want to know if I'm going to develop as I continue to do yoga.
You know what?
Develop the whisper.
That's so funny that you asked that, because I would say yes.
Okay.
In a sense. And I just want to tell like a little story about that, because it really has to do with the way that we breathe. And when people think about yoga, they typically think about just the asana, which is the postures, the poses, the warriors, the downward dogs, child's pose, all that stuff. That's just one of what makes up 8 different limbs of yoga. So if you think of yoga like a tree, and there's, limbs, and they're each a part or an offshoot of the tree. So pranayama is another one of the 8 limbs of yoga, and that is the practice of controlling your breathing and recognizing how controlling of the breath and being able to take command of the breath actually revitalizes the body. It refreshes the mind. It sharpens the pineal glands. Like, it just makes you greater. So sometimes when we're kind of flexing that little motion, or that muscle, I should say, that's when the whisper kicks in.
Okay. That's dope. She got a fire answer for everything, bro. The answers are fire, bro. But I'm learning that though, because as I breathe, I'm starting to feel it getting like, okay, this is kind of work. It hurts, but it's working. And I think that's just life.
Right.
Like the more that you live life and the more that you go through things, it hurts sometimes, but you can get through it. You know what I'm saying? If you just breathe and kind of let it be what it is, and instead of trying to fix everything in the moment. And I say that now, but I want to ask, like, what would you tell like your younger self? Maybe 10, 15 years, it doesn't matter what, you know what I'm saying? Like, you tell me what age.
I love it.
And what would you tell yourself back then, as far as like, well, I'm just let you answer it.
Okay, so before I answer, I just have to say to all of my listeners who are listening to this podcast, you guys are all like, oh shit, she asked the same question every single time I have a guest.
Oh, wow, okay.
I always ask them, if you could sit down with your 20-year-old self, what would you say? And I'm like, just give me one thing. And they're like, one thing? Shit, there's so much I would tell myself.
Right.
So I like that we're, kismetic in that sense, that we're both thinking about that. And I think that really comes from a place of like reflection. We acquire wisdom through experience. And if we could sit back and I could say to my, 20-year-old self, I would say, do it now. Whatever the fuck it is that you're thinking about doing, whatever dream that you're dreaming about, whatever really good when you get those like divine downloads, you're like, oh shit, that's a good ass idea. Yeah. Whether it's for like a song or a film or a project or a podcast topic or a fucking, clothing line, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have to do that now. Like, you have to take that thought and like urgently put some kind of energy into it, even if it's just telling somebody about it. So I would tell myself to do it now.
Man, that's great advice.
Thank you.
Great advice that I need to hear today. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you sharing that. Mike, you got anything else, brother?
I think I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I could obviously talk for hours.
Well, but I want to make sure, like, because this is, so the whole purpose of this is for individuals to come in and really either get off whatever they want to get off, or just share, or just grow, have a moment to kind of grow. And this is, for people who don't know, this is our first time meeting. You know what I'm saying? Like the very first time that we're meeting. So I'm asking these questions because I genuinely want to know, because I think you're really dope. Even for the 5 to 10 minute conversation that we had outside, I think you're dope. Like, I think you're really dope. And so we're going to keep talking, but I want to make sure that you said everything that you wanted to say, and that
I have so many things that I can say.
Well, we're listening.
But I love that. No, but what's no, and I say that because like the questions are prompting, something energetic that's happening where it's giving me the opportunity to talk about things that maybe I haven't talked about in this way or in this space. And what I love is that people who are genuinely interested, like, I really do want to know more. And then I get to kind of go into my like wise old owl who's, secretly much older than anyone ever thinks I am. And I get to share that wisdom, and I also get to learn, from your experiences, like what we're talking about outside. Like, the two of you guys are not natives to LA.
Right.
And you both came here with a specific goal or, agenda in mind of what you wanted to accomplish once you got here. And I think that the fact that you're still here, is commendable, because
I appreciate that. This
place is not easy, to navigate. And for you both to be creatives in particular, that world has an industry that's wrapped around it.
Yeah.
That can sometimes be discouraging when you're just a creative who wants to do your thing. So I just want to affirm you guys for continuing to do that, to not give up. And
I appreciate that. And that really means a lot, because I've seen a lot of people come to LA and I've seen a lot of people leave. Yeah. So to still be here, 8 years in, like, I'm here. Yeah. And I'm not going nowhere. And
it's home now.
It's kind of what it is.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys, I don't believe in coincidence.
Right.
Absolutely.
I know that everything is synchronized, and I think that we as creatives, we're finding each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We're finding each other, and the reason why we're finding each other is like what we were talking about outside, which is like, not waiting until your shit is perfect, using what you got.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. To create what it is that you want to see, what you want to be seen, and knowing that by doing that, you're going to naturally attract other people who are like, actually, I know, somebody with a studio, or actually, I know some artists that need some production, or actually, my brother's a videographer. Oh, my sister actually has a venue in LA that we can use. Oh, we can collectively collaborate and eliminate that competition shit that comes up. And I think, truthfully, creatives, I think we're driven, but I don't think we're competitive. When it comes to the true creatives who are like, I'm in this for the love of what it is that I'm doing.
True. Yeah, that's true.
And I know that industry, yes, can be cutthroat and competitive. But I think that the more of us that come together and say, actually, we're going to do a collective here.
Mm-hmm.
So by collectively doing this, we're naturally eliminating the competition.
Right.
With like among us, you know what I'm saying? So that if you have a project and you're like, I want to do this project, I have this collective of people that I feel comfortable sharing this idea with. Let's do this together.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they bring in their people and they bring in their people. So I say all that to say that I feel the same. I'm really, really glad to have met you two in person.
Yeah.
And this has been happening a lot through like some social media connections, and we actually find out that we really know each other through like a genuine human being.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
James
right.
Woods.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it kind of I don't know, like it ripens the experience a little bit more. Like, oh, okay. And she's a real person too. She's not just an Instagram personality.
Right. Straight up.
So yeah.
I want to agree with you on the competitive thing, but I want to disagree a little bit.
Okay.
Just because, and it's not like a competitive like, put you my podcast, your podcast. It's more of like, wow, she's doing something really dope, and I want to do something really dope too.
Yes.
And it's like more of a, I guess the word isn't competitiveness. Maybe you're 100%
like
right.
Inspiration.
And it's accountability.
That's what it is. It's accountability.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I see you being dope. I'm dope too.
Just like we said outside.
Yeah.
I'm
and
dope.
I want to be.
And you can be dope.
Yeah.
And he can be dope.
There's not like
a shortage of dopeness.
Right.
in the this is an abundant universe, okay?
Right.
Money's abundant, dopeness is abundant.
Right.
So we can all three be equally dope, and by holding each other accountable.
Right.
Like you said, that's not competition.
Yeah, you're right.
That's like people
You're
that
right.
I trust that I'm like, I want to do this project and I need to have it done by this date.
Right.
And I know I'm going to try to bullshit at some point, and I know I'm going to try to give up on myself at some point.
Right.
And I know I'm going to call you like, oh my God, I can't fucking find anybody. If that's going to give us a venue, I'm just going to give up. That person's going to be the one to be like, stop crying.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep going. Because
Right.
I'm doing my shit. Remember?
Yeah.
I'm doing my shit.
Yeah.
So it's a way of pushing each other.
That's cool.
It's accountability,
I
not
like that.
competition.
I like that. I have a new accountability partner, everyone.
Yes, you do.
Um,
So I feel like you guys asked some questions and I started talking about a whole bunch of other shit.
No,
Did I
you
actually
good.
answer your
You
question?
good. Absolutely.
Good. It's a
Absolutely.
conversation. It's
Yeah.
cool.
One thing I wanted to tell you, circling back to the healing and the self-healing and the ability to do that. One thing that I think a lot of people can benefit from, even if you never walk into a yoga studio or take a yoga class, is to learn how to breathe.
Okay.
And most human beings breathe very shallow. And if you think of your breath is your life force, in yoga they call it prana. It's your soul, it's your connection to the universe. So if you imagine your life force as a balloon, if your breathing is shallow, it's only going to expand so much. But if your breathing is deep and it's intentional and it's consistent and it's mindful, you yourself expand. You take up more space. You are naturally more confident. You are naturally more courageous.
Mm-hmm.
You are naturally more intentional, and you create a richness about your lifestyle and the way that you live. And that's a part of yoga. That's a part of self-healing and ultimately taking control over yourself.
Where can someone learn how to do that?
Well, insert advertisement.
Right.
Well, one place that people can learn is through a course that I'm creating, producing, launching through a collective of Black yoga teachers. And this came from an idea that was planted almost a year ago that said we need to explore the 8 limbs. we need to let people know that there's more to yoga than the sweat on the mat. And it actually started off as an idea for a podcast to do like 8 episodes on the 8 limbs of yoga. So we decided to sit on it and be afraid of it for a long time because we didn't think we were good enough to make it happen. We, meaning myself and me and I. Yeah. So recently I just had like a huge transition in my life, and I had another one of those like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop doubting yourself moments. And I decided to go for it. So I created a program called Rooted, and it is an 8-week yoga course taught by 8 Black yoga teachers in Los Angeles, and over the course of 8 consecutive Saturdays. And we're going to cover the 8 limbs of yoga. And that starts on June 23rd and goes through August 11th. So that's a good place to start.
Nice. And where can we normally do this at the end, but since you just did that, where can individuals find you as far as to get more information about that?
Okay. You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram. Kei Rai _ is my personal page.
You spell that for the people?
Oh, yes. It's KEIRAI _. That's my personal page. All of my stuff is public. I don't do private pages. And then my company, Sohum Wellness, has an Instagram page as well. It's just at Sohum Wellness, which is SOHUMWELLE. Just kidding. I can spell. I always do that when I try to spell wellness. So what I did, it's really funny. What I did for that exact reason is I changed my website. That's not even the right one. It's actually www.imsohum.com.
Okay.
So it's IMSOHUM. And I changed it because it took me too long to spell it the other way. So you can find me there. And I'm also on Facebook at Sohum Wellness Yoga. I'm on Twitter at Sohum Coach. Yeah, but Kei Rai _ on Instagram is probably a good place to start because it has links to all the other stuff anyway.
Cool. Well, we definitely appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Definitely appreciate you. Your spirit, your energy, what you're doing. I really enjoy the fact that you aren't selfish with your gift. I appreciate it because some people can be really selfish with their gift. And it's not even like just not giving it to anybody else, but being like prideful and upright about it. Like, I'm the shit. Like, I teach you this yoga if you give me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just have a good spirit about it. And it's really dope. Like, you're willing to give knowledge. You just want to share. And that's really cool to see. And I'm excited for what's to come for you. I think that this coming up is going to be amazing just based off of your spirit alone. And, I'm looking forward.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, take us out, Mr. Brown.
So let the people know. Well, I know you did it, but you can do it again. Let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Kei Rai _ That's KEIRAI _. Or you can find me on my website, www.imsohum.com. That's IMSOHUM.com.
And where you at, Alpha?
I am under Alpha Presents on Instagram and Twitter. That's ALF. Don't forget the F. PHA _ presents. And I'm also under Wayne Michael at Facebook. And the Gifts curriculum. She just inspired me to actually drop the curriculum. I have it. And so I appreciate her being here for that too. It's coming very soon. And where can we find you, Mr. Brown?
I am on all social media at Just Mike Brown. Website is primomiguel.com. And I'm going to start blogging more on Tumblr. I use it sometimes I don't, but it's Beats and Blunts on Tumblr. And that's all I have for you right now. I got some new music coming, but that's all I have right now.
Yes, that works. That works. So this is
Mike Brown.
This is Alpha.
And this is The Art of Letting Go.
Letting go. Letting go. Yeah. That felt good. You want to hit a bar? You want to sing a little bit?
Oh, no bars. I have no bars. I have no bars.
All right, y'all.